Yeah, late to the
Yeah.
party per
Um,
usual. No.
just so you guys know, I have the Dodgers game on, but I'm not watching it actively. I'm just looking at the score occasionally. I'm still focused on the
Baseball, dude.
pod. Yeah, dude. You know
Oh
how
my
I
gosh,
am.
it's so
Um,
bad. It's so
well,
I have
boring.
Pulp Fiction's on my TV right now, so equally as good, if not
All
better,
I
than the
got pulled up
Dodgers
is my
game.
notes and the Spotify. All right, I'm focused. I'm locked in. I could be doing a lot of things, but you know what I'm doing right now? I'm here with used tos.
We're glad you're
um,
back for sure.
before we get started, yeah, Trey, give us a little bit of a. Well, first off, am I really loud to you guys? Because it seems like my mic is clipping, and if it is, I'm
No,
gonna
you sound
stop,
fine.
leave, and then come back. It's good.
It's
Yeah,
yeah, it's
you
good.
All
sound
right.
loud.
All right. Well, anyway, before we get into it, Trey, give us an update from the ground. So tell people where you're at, tell them what you've been dealing with, and how they can help if possible, if needed.
Hey,
Still.
listeners. I'm here in Asheville, North Carolina. Without going into too much detail, to be completely frank, it's a pretty emotional thing to talk about. But we need any type of help that you can give, whether that's donations with actual goods. Right now, a big focus that we're looking for is cold weather items, so blankets, gloves, things for children that are warm, socks, all that type of stuff, sleeping bags. Monetary donations, you can actually send those directly to me at Trey Seville. I promise I'm only taking like 40% pocketing it. The rest of it I
I
actually am
was
using.
waiting on a joke, and you
Um,
couldn't resist.
no,
Fuck
no.
yeah, respect.
All jokes aside, we're taking that money. We're either spending it directly on supplies or giving it directly to individuals that are in need, they're out of work, or to organizations that are collecting that type of money to donate directly to individuals. So mutual aid is a big thing right now. It's pretty bad. The devastation cannot be understated. An entire community that's basically built on the backs of artists and creatives has been completely uprooted. There's artists that have lost their entire life's work. The River Arts District was basically wiped off the map, and I mean, there's thousands of pieces of art that were floated down the river, and you know that's small and compared to what we think probably are thousands of people that are dead throughout the Western North Carolina region. Which you have to realize is this isn't a flood like what we saw with Katrina in New Orleans, or like what we see in Florida, where like it's flat ground, it floods, the flood water recedes, and then people are able to go places. Like these people's like one road to their homes has been completely wiped out. There's people that are still stuck up in the mountains right now, that are having to get supplies flown in and dropped out. A big thing that's happening is we have hikers, we have actual pack mules, like literal donkeys, that are hiking things up into these places to be able to get people water, food, and other necessities for power. So it's going to be a really long rebuild here, and it's heartbreaking for sure. But if it was going to happen to anyone, this community is built. As far as you have Southern ingenuity, you have mountain folk that they've been building fucking bridges out of trailers and just like doing really ingenious things, be able to get stuff to people. The amount of community like coming together and donating. I've been volunteering at a place called Beloved Asheville, really just taking items from like big donation sites and getting them out to more rural communities. And every time I go, I mean, it's packed with volunteers, it's packed with new donations. Like people are really coming together and making stuff happen, but we're going to have to kind of keep that spirit for a long time. So yeah, even if you can't donate monetarily or anything like that, just keep us in your thoughts. A big thing is keeping the word going. Posting about it on social media, talking about it to your friends, making sure people know like they're not okay. Like just because it's fallen out of the news cycle doesn't mean that people have recovered. So yeah, that's kind of all I really want to go into it right now. I'm really excited to be back on the podcast, talk a little bit about music, talk about this awesome Billy Strings album, Highway Prayers. Billy Strings, obviously this was not a thing when I made this selection. But Appalachian music and bluegrass and stuff, that's the root of that this is the birthplace of that music. So it kind of really works out that we're able to discuss this album. I'm interested to hear how you guys feel about it, but feel free to kind of make comments on what I just talked about before we go into the album if you'd like.
Yeah, I think it's great to have you back. It's great to hear that side of it, and obviously we're super supportive, super proud of you for being engaged in that recovery effort, and anything that we can do, we will try to do. And I know Anthony has been updating the socials with ways for people to donate and to help and to do things. So he'll continue to do that. And yeah, it's tough. You can't understate how much worse these hurricanes are getting, and anybody who says they're not is lying to themselves and is lying to the people in these communities. And our impact on this planet is being felt and seen. And I think that, where where these moments, like the silver lining in these moments is what you talked about, right? The community coming together to support each other and improve things. So that's really great to hear, and I hope the spirits are high. I know you got homies at your place, staying with you, so at least I hope you guys are having a good time and maybe listening to some good music and just trying to take your mind off of the chaos of life recently. Maybe listen to some Billy Strings, and there's postseason baseball on right now, Trey, which I think could really lift y'all's spirits. So
if there was anything that would lessen our spirits right now, it'd be postseason baseball. We've been trying to have a good time. I'll be honest with y'all, I've eaten better in the last 3 or 4 days than I have in a really long time.
Yeah,
my friends that are staying with us are great cooks, and we've just been chefing it up. And
nice.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to have power and running water, so we've had people come in and take showers and stuff, just kind of a revolving door, of homies. And
nice.
Yeah, man, we're getting by. We'll be all right. It's just a little rough right now, but that's okay.
Well, in terms of the in terms of the Billy album, I'll just, since you kind of you launched it, I will say that this is a long album, man. This is a long album. It's an hour and 15 minutes. It's 20 tracks, which was a little intimidating at first. It felt a little daunting. I was like, man, I don't know if I can strap in. Like, I like Billy and I like bluegrass, but that's a lot in one sitting, But man, there's some really awesome moments in this album, and I've gushed about Billy before. I think a lot of us have. He's such a great guitar player, such a great artist, and there's some nice breaks at the appropriate moments in this album. Where things kind of change, and I don't know, it kind of pushed me through, and so I really, really enjoyed it. But we'll get more into that later. But Anthony, what do you got?
So this is my first go round with Billy Strings. He's been around for a little hot minute. But this was exciting for me because I had little context from some rides or dies of the past, but this is my first chance to kind of really see how he presents something, from a studio format, right, or from an album standpoint. See what he puts out there, and then pique my curiosity in other directions. He's young. I think he's like 32, so he's right around our age. Blake might call him an old guy, but I'd say he's primed for a bright future, and I think he's like an old soul in a guy. So I'm really, really excited to talk about it and dive deeper. And solid pick, Trey. So appreciate you bringing it to the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna be one of those people, but I've been listening to Billy Strings like longer than like anyone else that I know.
True.
The first time I saw Billy Strings was in 2018, and I saw him at Saturn. He played. I mean, now he's selling out State Farm Arena 2 nights in a row in Atlanta, and the Orion. He's sold the Orion out in a couple weeks. Which Anthony, if you have a chance, you should go check that out.
I might.
Great venue, great artist, but in a live setting, Billy Strings does things that no one else has ever done with bluegrass before. He's like put bluegrass back on the map. There's this whole country music resurgence that's happened. Like, we've done the Post Malone record, and we've all kind of gotten a little bit. Well, me and Blake have gotten a little bit more into country music in the last couple of years, I think, than we had in a while. Maybe you too, a little bit.
Shabuzi, we did Shabuzi too.
Y'all did Shabuzi, yeah. So like, it's kind of this whole thing, and I think Billy's definitely at the forefront of that as far as like Americana country music goes. And in my opinion, this is probably his best record. And he has some really good ones. Renewal is a really, really good record. What's the name of that other album? Home is a good record. Me and Dad is like kind of, it's not really like fully a album in itself. Like it's like kind of a little side project with his dad. But this album is long. I will definitely give it that. But I think it's broken up into different little subgenres of Americana that make it work really well and make it super cohesive while also not feeling like it's overwhelming. So Blake, you want to give us your top 3 tracks? You can go first today.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually had several tracks. So I will pick the top 3 and then I'll do some multiple honorable mentions. So number 3 for me is Leaning on a Traveling Song. I think it is a perfect intro to a bluegrass album. Like, I think if nobody had heard that genre before, and like, you can't, people that don't know what bluegrass is, right? You can tell them it's like country music, but that doesn't work anymore because there's so much stadium country out now that sounds nothing like bluegrass, right? So you can't describe that genre. It's not easy to describe that genre, but I think if I were to pick one song to say this is a bluegrass song. It's an easy to listen, digestible, fun, enjoyable bluegrass track. So I think it's like the perfect intro track for the album. And yeah, I just really love it. It got a great classic bluegrass sound to it. And then number 2 for me is shortly after Escanaba. So Escanaba, no word. I don't know if that's how you would say it. I would assume that's how you say it.
About right.
But no words, man. Just jams, just straight jams, and that's what I'm talking about with like the nice breaks in this album. Is he has a few songs that are just jams, right? It's not, there's no lyrics to them, and like that is just I love his band sound so much. I love how good of a guitar player he is. Like he's just so good at what he does, and I think that's when bluegrass really shines. Like I know there's a lot of soul in bluegrass as well, which is something, you know, we've talked about with country music, but the instrumentation, the string instruments in bluegrass, man, they carry the show, and Escanaba is a great example of that. And then my top track was 7 Weeks in County. So
I knew you were gonna love that song. Actually.
So I like, first off, it's just like, I don't know, the theme of the song is great, but it's just, to me, it feels like a Red Dead Redemption 2 song. Trey, did you play Red Dead Redemption 2?
I played a little bit of it. I never finished it. But
that is a Red Dead Redemption 2 song. Like I just picture the Old West when I hear this song, and saloons, and that's just what I picture. And it doesn't, like, to me, that song doesn't really sound like a bluegrass song. I know that sounds weird, but it sounds like old country to me.
I agree. I think that happens a lot on the record too.
Yeah. So I thought I really loved that song, and I kept coming back to it. And then some honorable mentions. Gild the Lily, which I don't know who this sounds like to me. It doesn't sound like Billy Strings. It sounds like another band, but I can't put my finger on who it sounds like. Did anybody else get this feeling listening to this song?
Brothers.
You think?
I think it sounds like Avett Brothers, yeah. And I have it in my top 2, but
okay, yeah, then maybe that's what I'm picking up on, because I was like, this sounds like somebody I know, but I don't know, who it is. And then I had Malfunction Junction, another jam song, no lyrics, also a banger, and then Cabin Song, which I know Cabin Song has been out for a while. It's been out for a long time, actually, like over a year, right?
Yeah.
I didn't expect to see
it was on the new Hunger Games movie soundtrack.
Yeah, I didn't expect to see it on this album, but I love that song. I brought it as a Rides or Dies one time, so yeah, I think it rips. So yeah, those are my top. Sorry, there's a lot on there, but like I said, man, there's a lot I really enjoyed about this record.
Yeah, it's hard to choose, I mean, because there's so much. I mean, 20 tracks, but like you can break these down into the instrumentals, into the bluegrass songs, into the more storytelling like songs, into just Richard Petty's straight a cappella track, So it's very interesting the way you can kind of break down an album like this. But because initially I was going to try to pick an instrumental and pick a bluegrass, but, times they are changing. So my number 3 track is My Alice. My Alice I wrote as like it feels like I wrote Ye Old Renaissance song. Like it has this like very Gilded Age kind of feel to it. But it's really a dark fucking song. It's like he's kind of the vibe that I get from this song is like he's scheming around a campfire about what he's going to do about this guy, John St. Paul. He keeps looking at his wife or whatever, or at Alice. And I wrote also like a change of pace track. I think the way this album is put together, it's very, it's digestible because of the tempo shifts that are going on throughout the album. I mean, some of the bluegrass tracks are really fast, but this song kind of puts the brakes on it for a second, especially coming after It Ain't Before, which to me is like a swing dancing. Like, I mean, bluegrass music, you can't sit still and listen to it unless you're driving, but still something's moving, So it's a good time all around. But my number 3, like I said, is My Alice. Which, shout out to Alice, she had a baby recently, so they're both new parents, Billy and
Baby
Alice,
Strings,
right? So that's super cool.
Nice.
Number 2 track, Similar to the 7 Weeks in County as far as the storytelling song, but my number 2 track is Catch and Release. What just a great little story, a little tale to say. And this one I wrote Johnny Cash song. This screams Johnny
so
Cash.
Did I.
Screams
That's
Johnny Cash.
Crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's pretty on the nose as far as that vibe goes, but like it's Billy's twist on it, I mean, but like what just a fun story, because like I talked about how we got pulled over in Oklahoma, and we got let go, but they didn't find anything as far as with us, which on that story, when we were at the Orion for Tippers Fest, Trey got to meet a dude that was in the car with me for that trip to Oklahoma. So that story's been validated out in the world, but so Catch and Release gave me those vibes and it felt too good. So I said, I'm going to put this on there. Number 1 track. Y'all want to take a guess at what my number 1 track is?
I want to say it's something with no lyrics. So
I say it's more Bud for me.
It is more Bud for me.
Is this?
Trey? Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. I love the instrumental tracks, so they all get total honorable mentions from me. I mean, Billy Strings is what I call a guitar smith. This guy behind me right here, this guy down here, all guitar wizards, as far as they talk through their instruments. They can accomplish any pattern, any songs, they can replicate likely anything through their instruments, right? But this song to me is it's a piece of work because there is a rhythm that's created through those sounds of a bong being ripped, a lighter being lit. It's just like it's such a fun, catchy, just pulsating song, and it's lighter than some of the other ones too. So the lyrics behind it are great. I'm becoming a big fan of Billy Strings, at least from this album. Bluegrass to me, I could only take so much in a sitting, but like if you're in an environment with humans listening to this type of music, or he's guiding that kind of experience, I mean, you can't go wrong. So lots of honorable mentions, but I'll save it to hear Trey's top tracks.
Yeah,
Nice.
I do want to call out for the more Bud for me. I've never heard of a joint referred to as a gibber before.
Right? How hilarious is that?
Yeah, if I can spin my more on the gibber, that I'm doing fine. If I start with 2, then my whole world's realigned. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You love marijuana,
it's like
man.
the opposite.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of peer pressure. He's like, no, you don't. It's okay. No,
It's okay.
I got
It's
this. I got
more
this.
Bud
Yeah.
for me.
Exactly. So fuck
Yeah.
yeah. Salute the pot smokers out there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I have several. I did lump in Gild the Lily and Be Your Man. When I was going back to re-listen to this album, which I have re-listened to it several times, like All Respect, Leaning on a Traveling Song, and The Clear and Escamba, but I've just been starting it at Gild the Lily because I love the song.
Yeah.
I love the Avett Brothers. I love the songwriting in this. There's a really cool lyrics. I'd sing along if I only knew the words. I'd sing along with the birds if only I knew the words. Staring into the wishing well has got you feeling a particular way. You can't stand to see your own reflection. Which I think is just like this kind of introspective, like almost like a self-deprecating track that like by the end of it, like he's kind of come a little bit to peace with who he is, which I think is just kind of beautiful. And then Be Your Man, kind of lump in with that track as well. It's also kind of like ballady in a way, very like lyrically driven. And just kind of, I feel like it talks a lot about like humanity and coming together, whether that's what I'm going through right now, or, whether that's what he means in the song. That's kind of the interpretation of music and the magic in it. Right. So those 2 songs are super, lyrical and like heavy in ways and like light in other ways. So I love those songs. Stratosphere Blues / I Believe in You. That was the first single to come out on the record. It came out while I was driving to Tahoe. And what I have written down about this is it kind of sounds like a Pink Floyd song. Like very the way spacey. That he very spacey. He has like a filter on his voice that he doesn't typically have. And he also has like a weird like filter on his guitar. Like it's kind of strange and a little off-putting, but it like works really well together. And I like that it's like a double track, but doesn't like fully like shift into a second part. It's kind of like this like marriage of these like 2 ideas. So I love those songs. I also have Cabin Song on here. Cabin Song is great. And then Don't Be Calling Me at 4 a.m. I think that song is hilarious. And if you've ever been in that type of romantic situation, whether you're the one calling at 4 a.m. or you're the one getting that phone call, I've been a little bit more on the giving the phone call than the getting the phone call, historically speaking. But I think it's great, man. It's like, you don't love me, don't call me at 4 a.m. just for a little hang time. So I love that track. And then my number one song is actually Malfunction Junction.
Nice.
It's a fucking ripper. And Blake, I know you say you like heavy shit. Like, this is heavy shit. This is bluegrass heavy shit.
It's a fucking ripper for sure.
Yeah, and like Billy Strings, you say he's a guitarsmith. I think he belongs on that wall behind you with Buckethead and with Gary Garcia. I mean, he is just an absolute phenomenal guitarist, especially in a live setting. And this song has like a lot of the different like progressive bluegrass type sounds that he really puts out through a live setting. This is like more of an honorable mention. Those I would actually put in my top. But Richard Petty is such a great album closer. Like you said, it's basically an acapella. I think it kind of ties in. Like, there's a lot of themes of like, driving and speeding through life and things like that. And Richard Petty obviously is a NASCAR driver, or was a NASCAR driver. And I think it just kind of ties in the whole record like really well, puts a nice little bow on it. So yeah, those are my top tracks. Just phenomenal. Nice. Really, really, really great record. I do have a couple bottom ones. I'll just go right into mine, and then we can get into y'all's. So unfortunately, Anthony, I have Catch and Release as one of my bottom two tracks. And it's not that it's bad, it's just that it reminds me so much of like A Boy Named Sue by Johnny Cash that I'm just like, this is kind of like a Walmart version of A Boy Named Sue. It's like, it's been done before a little bit. I don't like just love the kind of like very clear imitation, but I also think like that's what he was going for. So like, if that's what you're wanting to listen in on, like, that's totally cool. And then I don't love Leadfoot. I just don't like the song as a whole. It's like a little too like knee slapping, sitting around a campfire, but not in a fun way. So not
it's
a
huge
fan
of that.
You
can't sit at a campfire.
Yeah,
like you're literally
exactly.
just like
sounds like he's high as shit on some type of powder. But Billy doesn't do that. He's California sober. But I do also want to talk about, before we move into y'all's bottom tracks, I don't know if y'all know this, but Billy had Renewal Festival weekend before last, and he had to leave the festival because his wife was she went into labor. I don't really get why he had to leave. He wasn't going into labor, but people like to do that when they're having children. Yeah, people do that. So he had to leave the festival, but his band played every night, and they had like different sit-ins that weren't super planned on, and tried to make the most of it for the attendees. But he refunded every single person. He gave full refunds for the festival, even though the festival still happened, just because he wasn't there.
It's legendary shit.
Yeah, it's legendary. I mean, took a huge loss financially, millions.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He made it right, which I mean, like, it's like kind of overkill. Like, he really didn't have to do that by any means. But the fan base actually set up essentially a fund that was like, hey, if you want to donate your refund to like relief efforts, send it on over, which is sick. So
that's the magic. That's the magic of the effort that a figure, like Billy Strings in the music community can start. He can be a catalyst for this giant, mission, right? Which is, we're going to help each other, right? And like to forego all that profit, that was inevitably coming his way regardless, right?
Right.
Like, it just sets a new precedent for like, what does it mean to throw your own event like that? Right now, granted, he can afford to, I think he could afford, to take that loss,
but
like,
it's still a big L.
It
regardless.
is a huge one. It's
no
huge
pun intended.
But that again, it just shines a light on, I think, the kind of human that he is. And I think that makes him so much more relatable to people, that he is very personable and is willing to do that and communicate with people on that level is admirable for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah.
So Blake, what were your bottom three?
So I got a weird mixed bag that I don't think you guys are going to be a fan of. So Stratosphere Blues, I Believe in You. You're right, Trey. I wouldn't say it sounds like a Pink Floyd song. It's just so off the wall in this album. Like, it just feels very like, I have this one experimental track. I don't want to wait to put it on the next album. I don't want to release it as a single. I'm going to throw it into this album. That's kind of how it feels to me.
That's fair.
And I think like maybe had I listened to it not in the context, like I didn't listen to it as a single. I think if I had listened to it as a single, I would have a different opinion. But in the context of listening to it through this album, like going from 7 Weeks in County to that, then the Cabin song, it's like I get fucking whiplash. I'm like, what genre are we working with here? And then I had Don't Be Calling Me at 4 a.m. because look, man, this is a heartbreak song, and like the reality is like no woman has ever broken my heart. You know, I'm a man of steel. My heart is in an iron cage, and like I can't relate to that. You know, maybe if I had ever had my heart broken before, I could relate to that, but I haven't.
You know, there's tweets, right? You know, there's like a lot of tweets.
Yeah, I'm sure there's proof out
there. So you know, I can't relate. So bottom track for me, and then final bottom track is Catch and Release because Catch and Release. I did say Johnny Cash song, but I said bad Johnny Cash song.
Yeah,
it's what, and Trey kind of nailed it. It's like a Kmart. He said Walmart, but it's like a Kmart Johnny Cash song. That's
Kmart.
Well, is there any way to honor Johnny Cash through doing a song like this, right? Without plain out saying, shout out Johnny Cash, right?
I mean, I think that he honors Johnny Cash in a lot of different ways that, like, you don't have to necessarily mimic the exact sound. I think
so. Are like,
I think a cooler way would be going to Folsom Prison. I think that would be the appropriate way to, to honor Johnny Cash.
Right? But like, so are those songs just is that style of music just untouchable? No,
because
I mean it's a pretty distinct
thing. He replicates that style in other ways. I think this one is just a little too. I mean, you said it yourself, a little too on the nose for me. It is pretty. It's quite on the nose.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
Yeah. Anthony, what did you got?
All right. Well, you're not gonna like this, Trey, but Richard Petty I put on here, even though I don't think there's any bad songs on this album, right? There's flavors, and I think that there's some that that sing to my palate, and some that say, "What is this?" Right? But Richard Petty, I think, is just it to me is like the closing credits of this album, where the beginning of the end, he's literally saying, this is the beginning of the end of the record, right? So like it's very straightforward, but then Richard Petty, it has the gospel vibe to it. Not that I don't vibe with it. It's just, it takes me out of the closing of this album. So I put that on there. Also put Leadfoot on there. Leadfoot is too fast for me in the context of coming out of More Bud for me. This would be an interesting album to listen to on shuffle and like see if that clears anything up or changes, any interpretations of how this album, translates to your brain. Because I mean, some of it can flow, but then some of it, like Malfunction Junction, to me is a straight up segue track, in this album. So there's some balance to it, but then there's also some like you said, Blake, just kind of like startling effect of like, oh shit, we're going that route, right? That, and then that's really all I got. I could have picked out little nitpickings of some other songs, but like, again, I found too much that I liked out of them. Like It Ain't Before, I love the frogs samples. I love the ambience throughout this album too. Gill of the Lily, straight up, birds sing. I mean, it's just like you're there, right? You're transported there. So not a lot of gripes from this album, just a couple, but solid record, I think.
That's fair.
Very nice.
Overwhelming positivity. That's what we love you for. That's what we know you for. And
True.
How my brain's wired.
Well, here's a quiz for you guys. What do you think Rolling Stone rated it?
What is Rolling
Stone's out of 5?
How do I still
out
have
of
to
5?
ask this question?
Anthony asks it every time, every single time.
I just want to make sure. Before I throw a number out.
I'm gonna say they gave it a 3.5.
Anthony,
I'll say they give it a 4. And now I'm thinking a 4.5, but I'll say 4.
They gave it a 4. They gave it a 4.
Nice.
And then Pitchfork out of 10. What do you guys think?
They gave it a fuck shit.
I want to say 6.
7. I think they gave it a 7.
7.8.
Nice.
Okay.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Pitchfork.
So with that being said, wait, go ahead, Trey.
Did you get I sent you something on Instagram about from Billboard.
Oh, I looked right as right as I was coming up here.
It was number 1 in album sales. This is week of release. Number 1 in album sales, number 1 in vinyl album sales. Number is that a 1 or a 7? It's a 1. Number 1 in bluegrass albums, number 1 current country albums, number 1 Americana folk albums, and number 3 digital album sales, number 16 on the Billboard RS 100. and
Good for
22
him.
on the
Fuck yeah.
200. So
Yeah,
yeah,
he popped the fuck off.
it did really, really well.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Well deserved.
Well,
I
with
think.
that being said, what do you guys rate it?
Who wants to go?
You go ahead.
I'll
you
go.
go
I'll
first.
go. All right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I had a great time listening to this album. Like I said, how often do I see myself going back to it? It's hard to say. But I think if I'm in the right context and someone plays this for me, I'm along for the ride, you know. And then I think there are some songs that I could play if I'm feeling a certain type of way, and it would resonate really well. So this one, solid 8.5 from me
Nice.
on this.
Solid.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was gonna just say that I'm pretty much on the same page. I think 8.5 is perfect. I think look, man, I love Billy. I love the music, but 20 tracks is a lot for me. So, and there's some that I can go without. So yeah, 8.5 for me, man. He killed it. There's so many re-listenable songs. So many songs I want to go back to. So many that I had on my top tracks or honorable mention for a reason. You know, fantastic artist, great album. I'm really glad you brought it.
Thank you. This is going to be the rare situation where I don't take issue with an album being so long and not as easily digestible. I'm going to give this album a perfect 10 out of 10. I think it's Billy String's best studio work. I think he's on top of the world right now. So he's actually doing a benefit show. And we can talk about this a little bit more in my Rides or Dies, but he's doing a benefit show at Bank of America Stadium, which is where the Panthers play, in Charlotte, with James Taylor and then Luke Combs and Eric Church. So the last two we don't really care about, but
you're going to get a lot of people. And
yeah,
you're going to sell out the place.
exactly.
Right?
You sell the place out, which is cool. But yeah, I think Billy really is put on for Appalachia in general, and always has, and he loves Asheville. He was supposed to, we don't know if they're still going to happen, 2 back-to-back 3-night runs in I think it's in April, so 2 weekends in a row. Or no, it's in February because it's Valentine's Day weekend, but 2 3-night runs in a row. Yeah, I fucking love Billy Strings, and he's on top of the world. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. Keep going, Billy.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, nice.
Yeah, nice. Well done. Well, that was Highway Prayers.
Yeah, go listen if you haven't, for sure.
Buy the vinyl, you know.
Yeah.
He has tons of merch, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's just
makes merch.
When so just the last kind of thoughts with Billy Strings, is this the big coming out party? I know he's been established, and I know he's in the music scene very known, but to the average person going into the grocery store, right? They're gonna realize who Billy Strings is.
I would say no, because I think he's already kind of in that household name. If you go to those shows that are at these big arenas, it's bringing out a lot of Deadheads and stuff. That's definitely the vibe, but it's also bringing out a lot of people who are country music fans. He's sitting in with some really famous people. Obviously he sat in with Fish. We talked about that a few weeks ago, and he sat in with Fish. I think Billy's kind of already a household name, but I think this is kind of more of a stake in the ground.
Yeah, more validation.
I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Unless he has another kid, then he's going to go.
Yeah, he's got to go.
Yeah, but he'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah, but he'll be back. But yeah, this is his first studio release since he's kind of eclipsed that level. So yeah, I think that's kind of it's more of a stake in the ground than it is a coming out party.
Fuck yeah.
Nice. Well, with that being said, let's get into Rides or Dies. Who wants to lead us off?
Why don't you go first there, Kobe Bryant?
All right. So I took us back to an era long ago, mixtape Wayne era, Wayne's golden era, 2009 Wayne. And I picked the song Kobe Bryant, and there's a reason I sent the SoundCloud version, because we have had, I don't know if Anthony and I have had this discussion or if he's been on when I've talked about this, but I know it's been talked about before that I hate when rappers put mixtapes onto streaming services because things about those songs are forced to change because of copyright issues, because of whatever it may be. So the Kobe Bryant on Spotify is not the real Kobe Bryant. It is not the original. This is the original. Yeah, this is the original. And it fucking bangs. Yeah. And the reason I brought it was partially to go on that spiel that if you're listening to it on Spotify, stop doing that. But also basketball season's about to start. You know, it's time to lock in, watch some basketball, the best live sport you could watch. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And this song just always it gets me hype. I think it's a great song. I love the samples that he uses from LeBron in there,
Sports
or
Center
like
and all.
Sports Center, all that
Mhm.
stuff. Like, I think it's great. So yeah, what did you guys think?
Trey.
Oh, this song rides, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, Kobe doing work 2-4 on my shirt. He the greatest on the
Mhm.
court, and I'm the greatest on the verse. Like legendary.
Bar.
Yeah.
The reason that I didn't, just for the record, the reason I didn't know there was a different version on Spotify is because I've never listened to the version on Spotify. I didn't even know it was on Spotify.
Yeah,
Like
don't.
this has
Right.
always been, this has always been the I think it's Stuart Scott that's the sample from
Yeah.
Sports.
At least there's one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah, and like the way that was this the first Wayne sports track? Was this before Black and Yellow?
Yes. Yeah.
Or
Definitely.
Green and Yellow? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like it's cool. Obviously, like rap music and basketball have always been intertwined with each other, and rappers always want to be basketball players, and basketball players always want to be rappers, and
Yeah.
it's cool to see the two married like this.
Right.
Yeah, Wayne.
Fuck
Wayne
yeah.
shreds.
Guys, Anthony.
Yeah. So when you said this track, I looked at the SoundCloud because I wanted to see when it was uploaded to that SoundCloud because I remember when I found this song, and I looked at my notes on my iTunes, like, you can pull up the metadata on tracks, and it came up as mixfiend.com in the little note section. I was
Nice.
like, God damn, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
2009, right? So, this song is a banger. And then I did look up it on Spotify, or I looked it up to see had this song had any official release, and it said it was on No Ceilings, but the No Ceilings
It's
that's
on the No Ceilings on
Spotify, which is
They
bullshit.
threw it. Yeah, exactly.
So like I pulled it up and it was like 2 minutes long or 2:20 something. And I was like, all right, yeah, there's clearly some shenanigans with that. But your point, Blake, is the main reason why I never ever fucked with streaming services. Bandcamp, different story, being artists like straight up releases, but like Spotify or iTunes Music, like I never really prescribed to that because I knew the files and I knew the songs, and then I was like, well, as long as I can put it on a device, I can listen to it however I want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course the song's a banger. But I did want to ask you, Blake, was Kobe like your like first basketball like idol?
No,
who
not
was
at
it?
all. It was
LeBron.
LeBron.
I'll tell
It
you
was
mine.
of course LeBron.
Okay.
And to be honest, like so I've gone back. This is really nerdy and kind of embarrassing, but I've gone back and watched the 2000, 2001, and 2003 finals. 2000, 2001, 2002, because they're all on NBA TV. And now I'm a massive Allen Iverson fan. I love Allen Iverson. I love the way he played basketball.
That's mine. That's
Nice.
my first guy
Yes.
that I was like poster of that dude on my wall.
Yeah, and I actually
In a
bought
sleeve.
when we went to New York. I bought an Allen Iverson shirt, or Amanda bought it for me from this store, and I wore it to play poker the other night. And the guy that was dealing was like, "Oh, I've never seen you before, whatever." And I introduced myself, and he's like, "You can't be all bad. You're wearing a fucking AI shirt." I was like,
Yeah.
"He's the best, dude. I fucking love
Yeah.
that guy."
Oh, yeah.
So that
Hell
was
yeah.
sick.
That's wild that you brought him up because, like I said, that's where I was going with it. Was like that was the first guy that I was like, holy shit,
Yeah,
this guy is a wizard. I mean, he's
Yeah.
literally half the size of all these guys, but like, dude, nothing. You can't guard this guy.
and little like, sorry, go ahead, Trey.
No, I was just saying, everyone talks about how Anthony Edwards plays like Michael Jordan, but he plays like AI to me.
He does,
Like,
yeah.
He plays so
Absolutely.
much more like AI, where he's just got these crazy handles and will just like drive right past you at any point.
Yeah,
Fucking love Anthony Edwards.
I was gonna say real quick, like side tangent. So the Athletic put out the top 100 basketball players of all time, and this was like 3 years ago, I think. But they do a full almost like article for each player, and AI I think was number 16, and his article, I'll send it to you, Anthony, but his article is awesome. They just talk about how he like really brought hip hop to the forefront of the NBA, and like with the braids and all this other shit. Yeah,
I mean, there's a
it's
great
really
30
sick.
for 30 too about
He's
this
an actual gangster.
you seen the 30 for 30 where they brawling? There's a brawl at the bowling alley that he's kind of tied in with. It's a great story.
I haven't seen that one.
He went through a lot of scrutiny,
Yeah.
in his career, but like still, dude's a baller, and he's still mad respected, which I'm so glad that he didn't get blackballed or shut out or anything like that. He's still mad respected in the NBA.
For sure. All right, well, Anthony, what do you got for Roger Dice?
My rides or dies. I tried to figure out how, Blake, this is for you. I wanted to get. I'm excited to get your opinion. I'm not looking at the screen right now because I don't want any. No, I'm just joking. But like the idea is, I don't know a whole Ott album. The artist is Ott. Song is "Hello, My Name Is." he just put out a new album last week, which I'm a big fan of, and but he has a distinct flavor of like psychedelic, down tempo, side dub kind of music, you know. So I wanted to bring a song from an older album to see what you thought, to see what you would think potentially about a full album in the future. So yeah, just kind of picked a random one, but I thought "Hello, My Name Is" kind of appropriate to potentially introduce you to Ott. So Trey, I know we've seen Ott together, I'm sure, but like yeah. So what y'all think?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool, man. I don't. Did this seem like something that you didn't think I would enjoy? It's not like it's not super off the wall or anything. It's not any like weird glitch pop music.
These
like
songs
I think
are long, and
they're pretty
whole
long.
Album of Ott music is not for everyone. So you know,
I will say the song is a rides, and I'll have to think on doing a full Ott album. Before I get back to you. It depends. If the total album length is like 45 minutes, then probably it doesn't matter how long the songs are. But if it's like an hour and 30 minutes, might be a little bit more difficult. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
His songs are very like exploratory, you know, and it's progressive, you know, where it's like it'll add layers and take layers away, and then kind of lead you to a place, and then kind of bring you back to where you were. So like, these songs are deep in that sense, right? But yeah, I knew you were gonna. My hope was that you were going to like it, but I figured you would. But again, it's a different. Have you heard any Ott music before this?
Yeah, somebody's brought it before. It was probably good. I would imagine maybe Christian. I don't, or maybe it was Trey actually, but I've definitely heard an Ott song before.
Nice. Fuck yeah.
I don't remember if it was me, but it might have been.
I don't know. I don't think it was here at least.
This song rides. This is probably one of my favorite Ott songs. It's kind of like the quintessential Ott. And honestly, when I describe him, it's kind of like poppy like bass. Like there's definitely like a pop structure to this. Even like with like the vocal sample that I timed that up perfectly as I'm listening to it. I just want to drop it out.
Nice.
But yeah, no, yeah, the song's a hard ride. I haven't listened to the new album yet. I'm looking forward to it. You know, Ott has that thing. There's like a thing at Ott shows, Blake, where people say, "Don't forget your toothbrush." I don't know why.
I forget about that.
But people will brush their teeth during Ott shows. It's like
nice.
a weird
like
thing.
It.
It's the only time a lot of those people ever brush their teeth like all year long. It's like the one toothbrushing moment. And so we really appreciate Ott for promoting dental hygiene, and for that reason, the song rides.
Fuck yeah, very cool.
Oh yeah.
Well, Trey, what do you got?
So I brought Fire and Rain by James Taylor. This is obviously a classic song by one of the biggest American like singer-songwriters of all time.
Album named Sweet Baby James, by the way.
Album named Sweet Baby James came out in 1970. I brought this because I have a James Taylor Greatest Hits CD in my car, and my dad used to listen to it when he was cooking, so it's like a lot of nostalgia, and I really like it. But as we were driving around Asheville the first few days I was here, there was no cell service. So the song like is beautiful.
That's heavy.
And it's a heavy song, but like a lot of it's about like, you know, it's kind of like a breakup thing as well, but it's also just, you know, in general, like, you know, there's good days and there's bad days. And, you know, just these sunny days that I thought would never end, and see lonely times you couldn't find a friend. Right. So, yeah, I love the song. And I'm assuming both of you are going to give it a ride, because let's be honest, you can't give me a dies right now. I kind of have a little bit of high ground. So go ahead, by all means.
Anthony?
Well, on that note, no, I totally resonate with that feeling. You know, I think I might have sent it to Blake or some folks with the podcast, where like driving through Tuscaloosa the morning after, you know, the tornado, it's like there is a energy that, when you're in a place like that where just devastation has just taken it and completely changed the landscape of the whole environment, and to be listening to James Taylor while experiencing that, I feel it, you know, I get it. But of course, a classic song, powerful song, but that context definitely shines a different light on that experience. But definitely rides without a doubt. Yeah. James Taylor still got it, so that's sick.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's really sad. It's really depressing, but it's also a little bit hopeful in a way, you know? So I give it a rides, and I totally understand the vibe of, you know, there's interesting moments where you listen to songs after a big event, particularly a weather event. It's weird we all have this scenario, because the time that, I don't know if you guys remember you guys would have been gone out of Pelham by this point because I believe I was a senior. There was a snow day that happened where Pelham did not let people. They didn't cancel school, so everybody went to school, and then they realized, oh shit, this snow is going to stick to the ground. Everybody needs to leave now, and there was already at that point snow stuck to the ground. And Pelham's up on that hill, so people were crashing into each other trying to leave the school because you had to go down those big ass hills. So people were abandoning their cars and shit, and I walked with Ashton to Ashton's house because it was within walking distance. The next day we went back to grab my car, but we were driving through basically what looked like an apocalyptic moment because there was cars all over the road. Nobody was near them because I had a Jeep at the time, and we were listening to the intro track of Wizard, the Kid Cudi Dot to Genius like rock album, and it's like it was so perfect for the moment that we were in. Like it felt like a soundtrack to our life, and I feel like that is what I can just picture you having that moment with Fire and Rain, with everything that you were seeing and experiencing. That like now every time I hear that song, that's what I come back to. And I feel like now with this song for you, instead of going back to your dad, you're gonna be teleported back to the moment you're in currently. So it's almost like one of those moments you don't realize that it's historical, like it's a monumental moment until
imprint your brain.
years down the line.
There's a word for that, and I see what it is right now, but I'll come
it's
back
like
to it.
synesthesia, kind of.
Yeah,
where like
kinda
you hear a sound and
synesthesia.
it conjures up a feeling or a smell or something like
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, rides, hard rides.
So
for me.
rides all the way across the board. y'all.
For every song. That's crazy,
so
dude.
For listeners out there, I want to mention this on the pod. We got on our social media now. I've done some work to kind of consolidate all of our individual rides or dies over time into specific playlists. So we each have that. And then there's a greatest hits playlist, which any song that gets rides or dies across the board, there has to have been 3 or more of us is on that playlist. So it's pretty cool to kind of dig through the archives and see what songs we all resonated with.
I did not realize that was the parameters of the playlist. Now I know. Amazing. I'm learning with you, listeners.
Yep.
All right, so Anthony picked a movie that he had not seen. None of us had seen it, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's called Sound of Metal, and I have very passionate thoughts about this, but I'll save those for now. I'll let Anthony give his spiel. I'll let you guys.
Anthony.
All right, I'll let you guys go into your thing, and then I will get into my issues with the film. But go ahead, lead us off, Anthony.
Okay, so first off, the award-winning film Sound of Metal.
Award-winning. Here we fucking go.
It did win awards.
It did. It definitely did. So this was a very interesting watch for me. This movie to me comes across as a very cerebral, meditative, kind of thought-provoking, experiential film because of the way it's shot and the sounds that are being played or not played, right? So the story is a guy he's a musician, starting like low-key kind of musician. So he has tinnitus and then he loses his hearing. And then the movie kind of starts to take place. And, before I ever watched this movie, I had all my notions or preconceived kind of thoughts about what it was going to be about. But I knew that tinnitus and hearing loss was a big part of it. And I think the way the story is told is very interesting because the selective use of subtitles, while the American Sign Language is being learned by this main character, Ruben, is such a nice touch to me because, for a good portion, you don't know what they're saying through sign language. And I think that's really interesting. And you really it immerses you within the deaf community, which is something, I have family members that are deaf. I got the first wedding I ever went to was my uncle and he's hearing impaired. And that was like a big time experience for me seeing that type of community celebrate in that way. But it really put me in the shoes of Ruben in this film. And personally, I also have tinnitus, and that's something that I think about all the time. It's not all the time, but I think, at some point I could lose my hearing. And I think the choices that he makes throughout this movie are not choices that I would probably personally make, but it's interesting to see how it plays out. So I think this movie, in my mind, it's like I said, it's very meditative, but there's this concept where you can fix your problems or you can adapt to your new reality. And I think that to me is the way that I kind of drank in this film. you know, from a thought provoking standpoint, was like, you know, what would you do in that situation? Um, but I had a good time. You know, is it my favorite movie of all time? No, but it is something I could go back to and really like get right in that mode again. But it's a slow burn, you know, and not a lot of action's happening, but there is a lot of awareness that's happening throughout the film, you know. But yeah, I had a good time. Trey, what did you think
I
about it?
I enjoyed it. Like it's not the most entertaining movie I've ever seen. Definitely slow burn, a little boring at points, but I think it does a really good job of like bringing you. It does a great job at character building. Like
Right.
you kind of understand these characters and their motivations pretty quickly throughout. Even though some of the decisions are kind of like shocking or like why would he do that? But like you know his like I think his refusal to let go of the music and playing the music with what's her name, Lou.
Lou. Mhm.
Yeah, his like refusal to let go of that is kind of like his like refusal to accept of his new impairment, and that all comes to a head whenever he has to like leave the community because of him like trying to do the
Getting
like, implant
fixed, right?
thing, yeah, get it fixed or whatever. I think it does a really good job of bringing you in, like with especially with like the sound, the way that they do like the muted thing, which is definitely frustrating at times. Like it's annoying and frustrating. I'm not gonna like not say that it is,
Well,
but
yeah.
the way that they like bring the sound in and stuff, like it brings you kind of into his world and through his eyes. Would I watch it again? I don't know, probably not. But I do see why it was an award-winning film too, as far as like focusing in on people like with some form of disability or people that are in a minority. You know, the Academy loves things like that. I also think like visually, it's like really pretty. I think like kind of like it's like this really like down to earth, like almost like a documentary style of filming where like the camera will, like be behind people's shoulders at certain points and like follow them into a room and then like switch abruptly.
It's very
yeah,
art house, you know.
yeah, it's a very like artsy movie for
Mhm.
sure. So yeah, I liked it. Blake, the floor is yours.
Yeah, there you go.
Look, man, let me tell you. I'll just read you guys my letterbox review. But before I do, I want to tell you guys something. So there is a running theme in the video game world where Amazon will try to create a popular video game that they will throw money behind and they will throw production behind, but the game ends up being a shell of whatever game they are trying to mimic, whether that be World of Warcraft, whether that be an action game, whatever it is, because the people that are creating it, there's no heart or soul into what they're creating. They're being told to create this. And to me, this movie is just a lesser shell of the coming of age movies they want to create. That's what it feels like. It feels like a watered down, bad version of genuine coming of age films. So let me read what I wrote. I dislike this movie so much upon rewatch that this will be my first ever letterbox review.
Upon rewatch,
Yes, I watched
You
it
watched
twice.
it twice?
This movie so clearly wants to be a coming of age movie that it follows every single trope without ever spending enough time on them to feel earned. Not only is the beginning, middle, and end of this movie predictable, but it moves so quickly through moments that you don't even realize they are supposed to be important until after the movie's over. You don't see enough of the leads as a couple to feel the weight of their split. You don't see enough of Ruben learning to be deaf to be happy when he learns how to deal with it. And you don't see enough of the aftermath of his broken dreams to feel sad when the cliche "I've come to accept this moment" happens before the screen cuts to black. The fact that this is rated so highly and has won awards shows that the formula to a successful movie is this: character has foundation, character goes through hardship, character loses all foundation, character attempts to regain said foundation, character accepts that they can't. In a world where so many movies do this so much better, Sound of Metal feels like if you told ChatGPT, write me a coming of age film, and had a good director and actors attached to it. If you dig deep enough, nothing makes sense, there's no timeline, nothing feels earned, and no emotional connection to anything or anyone is ever made by the end of the 2-hour runtime. This film's only saving grace is Olivia Cook and Riz Ahmed. Other than that, everything else feels like a desperate attempt to win an Oscar. Never has there been a better defense of Family Guy's joke, quote, Amazon Prime, like the 8th best way to watch TV. That was my review of that movie. And I don't think there's anything else I need to say about it. You know, those are my thoughts.
I think we have just vastly different opinions on this one specifically. I feel like he really held on to the coming of age thing. I didn't
And
feel
the
like this was,
Amazon thing.
well, yeah,
I mean, it's anyone
that's
can
Because
understandable.
Amazon
If you think
doesn't have
Amazon
any
had
heart behind
influence-
anything they do. And
I
Anthony,
mean,
you say
but
this
these
all the time that you don't
directors do.
think that like these production companies have any influence over their work when they absolutely do. They absolutely do.
I
What
feel
makes
like
you think that besides that this movie's available on Amazon Prime? I mean, have you looked
it was,
into the
produ- it was,
director? Have you
produ-
looked
it was
into the making of
produced
this
by
movie?
Amazon.
Yeah,
It was
I
produced
get
by
it. I
Amazon.
mean, but like that doesn't. I mean, you said that about the Joker too in DC, where like how much input did DC have on that actual film?
Apparently not very much on Joker
There's
2.
no DC.
Apparently DC had no input on the second one.
Right.
That's
so
why
like,
it's so
but
bad.
what I'm getting at is it's so
Not if you ask Anthony.
I haven't seen it.
I'll
I-
argue that. Yeah, I'll argue
I
that
haven't seen it,
movie.
so I can't
I'd
say if
love
it's
for us
bad
to
or
talk
not.
about that movie.
I
But
would love to when a movie theater opens up.
No, it was
Yeah,
clear.
true.
The thing is like the good one.
No, it's too harsh to jump to conclusions from a studio standpoint unless you dig and do the work. You know, I mean, look into the making of this movie. Look who wrote the movie. You know, look at the actors and why they were in this movie. You know, I mean, these are not known actors. You know, Riz Ahmed, he was in Nightcrawler, but like that's it.
He was in
You know
Star
what I
Wars
mean?
too. As
Yeah,
well.
he's been in
Who
a
else
number
do
of
you-
things. And
No,
so was
but-
Olivia Cook.
He also looks like Hassan
Okay,
Minaj,
but, like-
right?
Kind
Yeah,
of,
no,
I
he
guess.
definitely
A
does.
skinny version of him.
Yeah.
Right,
Skinnier
but, like,
version.
What I mean is like there are people who have experienced this movie, but to say there's no emotional attachment, maybe to you, you know, but it's too harsh to jump to that conclusion when in reality, yeah, people live this.
I understand that, but I don't understand how you could have an emotion. They don't. There's not enough time spent on anything to have an emotional
How about
attachment
the,
to it.
the dinner
the
where there's
scene,
no sound happening except
This-
for clanking of spoons and forks,
which
and
is a
plates.
great scene. But like the thing that bothers me is like there is a literal one scene. I swear to God, if you go back and watch that movie, I watched it twice. I'll remind you, there is a one scene difference in him not knowing sign language at all and then being fluent in it. There's no
there's time that
direction
passes.
or
What did you want? Like a sign language montage?
Did you
no, I
want
don't
a
need a
caption that
sign
said 2
language
months later?
montage, but like, and then even that when he goes back to when he goes back to meet to find Lou, you have no idea how much time has passed. Like, there's no.
It's not important, but how
Yes,
much
it is
how much
important.
exposition do you want in a movie? I guess is the
don't-
better question.
I don't need a shit ton of exposition, but that stuff matters in a movie like this. It matters with their like for their reception of each other, and also like I'll tell you guys one thing that's a glaring plot point, a plot hole to me, which people may think is trivial. I refuse to believe, and I'm not going to let somebody gaslight me into telling me this is trivial. I refuse to
Oh.
believe someone who has recently gone deaf that is about to spend $80,000 on a procedure would not one time look up prior to that, does this actually sound like I am hearing words? Because that's like the oh shit moment is, this is not hearing. There's no possible way you could talk to somebody who has gone through that surgery or who has lost their hearing and ask them, did you do zero research about this before you got your
Hold
fake
on.
hearing?
I get what you're saying, but there's also a moment when he's with the doctor, and the doctor he's like, "So I can get implants," and the doctor's like, "Yeah, kind of," and he like kind of just brushes right past that. Like he locks in so hard to like, there's a fix to this to return me back to normal, rather than like he's more so in like a fight or flight.
He's in
mode.
denial. He's
Yeah,
in
he's in
denial the whole
denial.
movie, you know?
Yeah,
So like
I do disagree with some of your critiques as far as like I don't think it's a coming of age film. First off,
no, yeah.
like I don't think I think it's more of a like a it's
it's
more
a,
of like
it's a moment in
character-
time.
Yeah, it's more of like a character driven like it's not-
experiential film.
Coming of age is like it's, teenage,
Like
whatever going
mid-nineties.
through life. Like this is
Boyhood,
like an
yeah.
event happened to him and he has to get over the event. So I don't know. I feel like it's a little skewed, but your opinion's your opinion. It's very
Right.
fair. If you didn't like the movie and you thought there wasn't enough exposition, that's fine.
There are some cool moments too, where there's there's like a support the deaf support group context, right? Where like if you've ever been in an AA meeting or an NA meeting, they always start with the serenity prayer, and they do that in sign language in that moment too. So like there's a lot of nuance to this movie that I think deserves being highlighted, but I get it. I mean, some movies aren't for everyone, but some of it, like I said, is just there's peace in silence too, and this movie has a lot of moments of silence, and if that throws you out of the details of this film, then I think you're missing the point, you know. But I mean,
There were
this
moments
movie
I
may not
liked
be for
about it,
everyone.
like, and there were like some of those moments with the sound I thought were cool, and I think Olivia Cook does a fantastic job in this movie. Like, I think her small amount of screen time is phenomenal, but
She does have a very small amount of screen time.
yeah,
Sorry.
very small amount. And like, I don't know, you know, the thing is, like, when I watched the trailer, I was really excited about it and I thought I was gonna like it. And then when the movie ended, I originally gave it a 3, and I was like, there wasn't anything special about it, but something like was irking me about the movie. So I went back and watched it again and liked it less upon the second time, like, because I realized all the shit that I didn't like the first time. Like, there's just to me, the shit I dislike outweighs the shit that I did like, you know. Then that's kind of like, to a severe degree, you know, which is why I'm not going to go see Joker, because I can't do 2 bad movies back to back. I just can't.
You'll never know. But you saw this one twice, which is shocking. to me.
Joker's gotten awful reviews across the board.
Fuck
but
From everybody,
If you-
audiences,
but
critics.
The fact
I am
that-
interested still.
There you
I'm
go.
interested. I
Let's
will
have
still
a
see
conversation about it. Let's have a conversation, because, you know, trailers will do one thing, reviews will do another, but nothing will be as concrete as your butt in the seat watching the movie. Unbiased.
I also spoiled the ending for Trey because I thought that he didn't
did.
care, and I also saw a clip of the
How do you
ending.
even know the ending?
I saw a clip of it on Twitter, and like,
Jesus Christ. But this is the point. Well, let's talk Joker, please, for the love, at some point, because these reactions, these outlandish things that are happening, like people spoiling it on Twitter, is just.
I'm going to spoil it for the listeners right here.
No.
All right, so, by the way,
seriously. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see it because I really liked the first one. But I mean, like, people are saying wild shit on the internet. They're like,
Right.
oh, they intentionally made it bad because, like, they didn't want to support, like, the following that it got.
A lot of people with egg on
People-
their face.
Yeah.
No,
They don't know it.
My
They don't know
favorite,
it.
my favorite
And
theory
one might be in the studio.
My favorite theory is that they made it bad intentionally because the audience's reaction to how fucking bad the movie is showing that you don't care about people with mental health issues. That is
Oh,
a
I
real
love
argument that
that.
I've
Oh my
seen on
gosh.
Twitter. So I
love the
like that
internet.
theory a lot.
Well, that's I'm
Can we
not
talk
going to
about
comment
a
on it right
first for
now.
the pod, smoking
Yeah.
darts on the pod. 'Cause
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
that. Nice.
It's cigarette smoking season, baby. It's cold outside. Got a hoodie on.
I heard some cicadas in the background too. It's very
Oh,
nice.
yeah,
Very
yeah,
Billy
yeah.
Strings of you.
Yes.
All right, so next week I got album. Trey has
Hold on,
moved
let me
in-
say this. I made a note, and now I have to mention it. And maybe we're not.
Is it
over
about
yet.
cigarettes?
No, it's about earplugs at shows. Like, for the love of God, listeners, if you don't wear earplugs at shows, I highly encourage you to do so. And Trey knows this. I always ask, anyone I can, like, do you have earplugs? And because hearing loss is a reality for a lot of people. And have either one of y'all experienced any tinnitus before? Or
I
maybe
definitely
noticed
have.
it?
I mean, I've heard ringing in my ears after shows
Yes.
that goes on for like a fucking day. But other than that,
Yes,
no.
that is that. Yeah.
No, I never wear earplugs. Sorry, Anthony. I probably never will. I'm
I'm a big earplug guy still.
I can't enjoy the music as much, and
The thought of me losing
more
my
conscious of how close I am to the speakers than anything else.
the thought of me
And
losing
the
my hearing
sound.
fucking terrifies me, especially after seeing this movie. Shit fucking terrifies me. So I try to take.
It struck
I've like
an emotion. in
yeah,
you,
I've been
Blake?
turning down my music on my Bose headphones. My Bose headphones. Bose, please sponsor us. Even though I know Bose would never damage my hearing, obviously.
Those headphones, we can get really loud.
Yeah.
It's so loud it gets quiet.
Um,
No,
All
but
right.
let me say this: if you are gonna you should wear earplugs at shows, both of you guys and everyone else. But when you do, put the earplugs in for the openers and leave them in, and your hearing will adjust and calibrate to what you want to hear. If you just put them in before the set starts, it's gonna be weird. There's a adjustment that's gonna happen within you. But trust me, eargasms, those are my go-to all the time, forevermore.
Eargasms sponsor us.
so,
Three erasers, everybody.
So I have an interesting plan for next week, and it's going to require some listening, and it's going to require some introspective thinking, and it's going to require you guys to make a choice that you're not going to want to make, but you have to make it because I'm laying it all out right now. We are going to listen to Led Zeppelin 1 and Led Zeppelin 4 And at the end of the podcast, you are going to be forced to make a decision about which one is better, because I have thoughts on this that I want to share, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. They are arguably the two best at least within the Led Zeppelin 1 through 4, those are the best. So we are going to listen to 1 and 4, and then you guys are going to be forced to choose at the end. And we're bringing Jordan on because Jordan is gonna eat this shit up.
I like that.
So there's gonna
I
be
would probably say 2 and 4 personally, but we'll see where the chips fall.
yeah, we'll see where the chips fall. So does that sound good to you guys?
I like
Are you
that.
on board?
I can do that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we haven't done either of those. Did you and Christian do a Led Zeppelin album way back when? And if so, do you remember which one?
I don't believe we did. I know we've talked
Which
about
one has Immigrant Song? Which one has Immigrant Song?
I think
Isn't
that's
that 4?
3.
No, it's 3.
3 as Immigrant Song.
Okay. I don't know.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
a
down.
little
So
off the
1 and
wall.
4, we said.
1
Yeah.
and 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Um,
Great concept, Blake.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
And
Jordan's going to be back on too.
Trey, what is your movie?
We're gonna do Disturbia. The Shia
Yes!
LaBeouf classic.
Classic.
Y'all told me to pick a scary movie, and Disturbia and Zombieland were the 2 movies that I had on DVD at the lake back when we didn't have the internet out there, and so I've seen Disturbia literally 100 times.
Fuck
so
yeah.
I haven't watched it in forever either, so I'm really excited to rewatch it.
Yeah,
It was
it's been
like when you
probably
told me to
5
pick-
years.
When you told me to pick a scary movie, instantly I was like, Disturbia, let's run it.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll do Disturbia, which I feel like fits with Led Zeppelin 1 and 4.
Yeah,
We will make
for
it
some
fit in
reason
some
I
way.
kind of feel
Yeah.
that
We'll
too.
find a connection.
Yeah. So,
Fuck yeah.
Cool.
All right,
right,
boys. Well, it was a blast. I hope everybody enjoyed listening, and we will see you guys next week.
Ear guys
Peace.
are
Ear
sponsor.
guys sponsor us.